En la clase de hoy vamos a aprender inglés de una manera sencilla y divertida. Vamos a escuchar y leer 4 historias diferentes en inglés. La idea es que te vayas familiarizando con el idioma, escuchando y leyendo todo en inglés. Todas las palabras que no entiendas, escríbelas en tu cuaderno para posteriormente traducirlas. Verás que si eres constante con este método, verás grandes resultados. Sin nada más que decir, comencemos.
In a small village in the mountains of Japan, there was a dojo known for training the best martial arts warriors. This dojo, called the Golden Dragon, was led by Master Hideo, a wise and experienced man who had dedicated his life to teaching martial arts. Among his students was a young man named Kenji. Since he was a child, Kenji had dreamed of becoming a great warrior. His father, a former samurai, had told him stories of honor, bravery, and discipline. Inspired by these stories, Kenji joined the dojo at a young age and began his training under Master Hideo's guidance. Training at the dojo was rigorous. The students practiced combat techniques, meditation, and endurance exercises. Kenji stood out for his dedication and skill, but also for his humility and desire to learn. As the years passed, he became one of the dojo's best students. One day, Master Hideo announced that a tournament would be held to determine who would be the next leader of the dojo. The students prepared enthusiastically, knowing that this was a unique opportunity to prove their worth. Kenji trained harder than ever, perfecting every move and technique. The day of the tournament arrived, and the dojo was filled with spectators. The matches were intense and full of excitement. Kenji advanced through each round, facing formidable opponents. In the final, he found himself face to face with his friend and rival, Hiroshi. They had trained together for years and knew each other well. The battle between Kenji and Hiroshi was epic. Each displayed incredible skill and strategy. The tension in the air was palpable as they exchanged blows and blocks. Finally, Kenji saw an opening and, with a quick and precise move, managed to take down Hiroshi, winning the match. Master Hideo approached Kenji and, with a proud smile, handed him the golden belt, symbolizing the leadership of the dojo. Kenji bowed respectfully and accepted the honor, promising to guide his peers with wisdom and humility. Kenji's victory not only brought him recognition, but also inspired the young people of the village to follow the path of the warrior. The Golden Dragon Dojo continued to be a place of learning and growth, and Kenji became a symbol of dedication and excellence in martial arts. In a forgotten corner of the world, there was a city called Hidden. This city was known for its love of chess. Every year, the best chess players gathered to compete in the prestigious Hidden City Chess Tournament. Among this year's participants was a young prodigy named Alejandro. Since he was a child, Alejandro had shown exceptional talent for chess. His grandfather, a former tournament champion, had taught him all the secrets of the game. The tournament began with great anticipation. Alejandro won his first games easily, demonstrating his skill and strategy. However, in the semifinal, he faced a formidable opponent, a young woman named Isabel. Isabel was known for her aggressive playing style and her ability to surprise her opponents. The match between Alejandro and Isabel was intense. Both players made brilliant moves, and the tension in the room was palpable. Finally, after a series of masterful plays, Alejandro managed to defeat Isabel and secure his place in the final. In the final, Alejandro faced a veteran player named Don Fernando. Don Fernando had won the tournament numerous times and was considered a legend in the city. The final match was an epic battle of wit and strategy. Alejandro and Don Fernando exchanged complex moves, each trying to outdo the other. After hours of play, Alejandro saw an opportunity. With a bold move, he sacrificed his queen to put Don Fernando in checkmate. The room erupted in applause as Alejandro stood up victorious. He had won the Hidden City chess tournament, following in his grandfather's footsteps. Alejandro's victory not only brought him fame and recognition, but also inspired many young people in the city to learn and play chess. Hidden City continued to be a place where chess flourished, and Alejandro became a symbol of dedication and passion for the game. In a small town called Green Village, trees were considered the guardians of life. The town's inhabitants knew that trees not only provided shade and beauty, but were also essential for the planet's health. However, not everyone understood the true importance of trees until one day, something extraordinary happened. In the heart of the town, there was an ancient forest known as the Forest of Life. This forest was home to a wide variety of flora and fauna, and the oldest trees were revered for their wisdom and strength. Among these trees stood a majestic oak named Grand Tree, which had been there for centuries. Grand Tree was known for its imposing size and its ability to communicate with the forest's inhabitants. One day, a group of loggers arrived in Green Village with the intention of cutting down the Forest of Life to build a new road. The town's inhabitants were dismayed, but didn't know how to stop them. It was then that a young man named Mateo, who had always felt a special connection with nature, decided to act. Mateo ventured into the forest and approached Grand Tree. "We need your help," Mateo said with a trembling voice. "The loggers want to destroy the forest, and we don't know how to stop them." Grand Tree, with its deep and resonant voice, replied, "The forest has a power that few know. If the town's inhabitants unite and show their love for nature, we can stop this destruction." Inspired by Grand Tree's words, Mateo returned to the town and gathered his friends and family. He told them about the conversation with the oak and asked them to unite to protect the forest. The inhabitants of Green Village began to organize, planting new trees, cleaning the forest, and educating others about the importance of trees. Meanwhile, the loggers continued with their plans, but something strange began to happen. Every time they tried to cut down a tree, their tools broke or mysteriously disappeared. The forest animals also began to act unusually, blocking the loggers' path and protecting the trees. The loggers, frustrated and confused, decided to talk to the town's inhabitants. Mateo and the others explained the importance of the Forest of Life and how trees were essential for the ecosystem's balance. They talked about how trees produced oxygen, absorbed carbon dioxide, and provided habitats for countless species. Moved by the town's inhabitants' words and the strange events in the forest, the loggers decided to abandon their logging plans. Instead, they joined the conservation efforts and helped plant new trees and restore damaged areas of the forest. Over time, the Forest of Life flourished like never before. The trees grew stronger and healthier, and the forest's biodiversity increased. The inhabitants of Green Village continued to care for the forest, knowing that their well-being was intrinsically linked to that of the trees. Mateo became a respected leader in the community, and his story inspired other towns to protect their own forests. The story of Green Village and the Forest of Life became a legend, reminding everyone of the importance of trees and how, with unity and love for nature, even the greatest challenges can be overcome. In the quiet town of Shadow Valley, a group of friends gathered every summer to explore the darkest and most mysterious corners of their home. This group consisted of Ana, Luis, Marta, Pedro, and Javier. Since they were little, they had heard stories about an evil entity that lived in the nearby forest, known as the Shadow. One night, while camping in the forest, the friends decided to investigate more about the legend of the Shadow. Armed with flashlights and an old map they had found in the town library, they ventured into the forest. As they advanced, the air grew colder and the silence more unsettling. Suddenly, Ana noticed something strange on the ground, a series of symbols carved into the earth. Luis, who had always been the most curious of the group, suggested they follow the symbols to see where they led. After walking for what seemed like hours, they arrived at a clearing where they found an old abandoned cabin. The cabin appeared to have been uninhabited for decades. The windows were broken and the door hung from one hinge. However, the most unsettling thing was the feeling of being watched. Marta, who had always been the most sensitive to energies, felt a chill run down her spine. "We shouldn't be here," she said quietly, but the others were determined to continue. Inside the cabin, they found an old diary. The pages were yellowed and fragile, but still legible. The diary belonged to a man named Samuel, who had lived in the cabin many years ago. Samuel described in his writings how he had been tormented by a dark entity that fed on the fear of the town's inhabitants. As they read the diary, they began to hear strange noises outside the cabin. Pedro, the bravest of the group, went out to investigate, but found nothing. However, when he returned, they noticed something had changed in his expression. "We have to leave," he said urgently. "The shadow is near." The group ran out of the cabin and into the forest, trying to find their way back to the town. However, it seemed the forest had changed, and the symbols on the ground were gone. The darkness closed in around them, and the feeling of being pursued grew more intense. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, they found their way back to the town. Exhausted and scared, they took refuge in Anna's house. They decided not to tell anyone about what they had found, but they knew the legend of the shadow was real. Over time, the friends realized that the only way to stop the shadow was to face it together. Using the knowledge they had obtained from Samuel's diary, they devised a plan to lure the shadow and destroy it. They knew it would be dangerous, but they were willing to risk everything to protect their home. On a full moon night, they returned to the forest and headed to the clearing where the cabin was. With bravery and determination, they began to recite an ancient spell they had found in the diary. The shadow appeared, a dark and amorphous figure that seemed to absorb the light around it. With the power of their friendship and the courage they had found within themselves, the friends managed to weaken the shadow. Finally, with one last effort, they destroyed it. The forest returned to normal, and the feeling of danger disappeared. Back in the town, the friends knew they had done something extraordinary. They had faced their fears and protected their home. The story of their bravery became a legend in Shadow Valley, reminding everyone that with unity and courage, even the greatest challenges can be overcome.
Espero de todo corazón que esta clase te haya gustado. Si es así, regálame un like y suscríbete al canal, que en verdad me ayudarías bastante. Y para todos los estudiantes que se quedaron hasta el final, les tengo un regalo. Debajo de este video encontrarán una clase de inglés desde cero totalmente gratuita. El link para esta clase estará en la descripción del video o en el comentario fijado. También te recomiendo que veas este otro video donde aprenderás inglés con una historia muy interesante, súper divertida. Entonces te espero ahí, no te lo puedes perder.